What's Up Buddies, What Jim, and joined by Jason the Old Millennial and Bryer's Music Showcase as we're counting down our top 5 songs and albums of 1973. It's crazy that was 50 years ago.
Yeah. So many albums came out this year.
Yeah, it's a great year of music.
Yeah.
We've got Stephen Muller the stage.
Steve, cool.
I bought the thumbnail as the greatest year of rock, but it was just a picture I found on the internet. But I do think it's one of the greatest years of rock, though. 1973.
Oh, definitely. Some big albums this year.
Oh, yeah.
About a year ago, myself, Jason, and Rich, we counted our top 5 songs and albums of 72.
Yeah.
Now we're joined by Bryer this time, at 1973.
We included Bryer this time.
Yeah. So I think I'll let you go first, Jason. Then Bryer, and then myself. Should we go through the songs first?
I think we did albums first last time.
I can't remember what we did first last time.
I think we went through the 5 albums and the 5 songs, I believe. I don't know.
We can do that if you want.
Yeah, I feel like going through the 5 albums first, maybe, then the songs.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll do that.
Okay.
So I guess you might as well just get started with it now then. I've got both these channels in the description below, Bryer and Jason's, but probably everyone watching it is subscribed to you guys, but just in case, their channels are in the description. So what's your 5th favorite album of 1973 then, Jason?
Yeah, so number 5 for me is actually a really big one. It's maybe the biggest album of that year, and it's an album that I don't know, I've never been like a huge fan of, but then I was re-listening to it for this list, and I had to put it on the top 5 because there's just so many good songs here that I kind of finally like, you know what, this is a really good album. And that is Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. Obviously,
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's right.
I've seen it
right
before.
Behind you. Yeah, I feel like this is number 1 on almost everybody's list. I know Rich Strickler put this number 1 on his favorite album of all time, for instance, and I'm sure it's for a lot of people. And it's an album that I kind of like. There's a couple songs here and there I like, but then there's some songs I don't like, and so I've always been like, I'm not sure if I like this album or not. But you know, going through it, there's still so many great songs that it definitely takes over some of the songs I'm not as crazy about, like the instrumental ones. There's like 2 or so instrumentals, or I don't know what you want to call them, sound effects or something. And it's funny, Scott and Nick went through 1973 just this last week.
That's right.
And Scott mentioned the Great Gig in the Sky.
Oh, yeah.
How he's a fan of it.
I laughed at that part. Yeah.
And Nick hates it.
I was with Nick. I don't like this song. I'm annoyed by it. The woman singing, I'm just like, oh my God, like what is this? But it doesn't ruin the album, but still I'm kind of like on Nick's side, like, yeah, it's not my favorite part of it. But still you got songs like Breathe in the Air, really great, like the second song on the album. Time is obviously very iconic. I love the sound of the alarm clocks going off or whatever, the clicking clocks. Really cool. I would only say I wish the intros were like a little bit shorter. It feels like you go through a lot of intro to get to the song, because once that song kicks in, it's awesome. Making your way to whatever, you know. And the guitars come in and everything. It's like, oh, this is so great. Harmonies are great. Guitar, of course, Gilmore is so great. It's such an interesting style that I feel like so unique to Pink Floyd. I haven't listened to all their albums. I just know this and The Wall are like their 2 big ones. And I definitely love their style in a lot of those songs. Money, of course, great rock, or great that opening bass, you know. And the again, I like the cash register. Ching, ching, during the really cool song. My favorite's Us and Them. Us and Them is one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs. I just love the harmonies, and just it's a really cool. I don't know. I don't know if you want to call it mellow or you want to call it haunting. I don't know. It's just got this interesting sound to it that I really love that Pink Floyd has in their songs. I mean, I know this is considered like the great like prog rock album. I don't know if you would say that, Bryer.
It's an interesting debate. I've heard two sides when it comes to Pink Floyd. Where do you classify them? Some people say they're progressive rock, but then I've heard some people say no, they're not progressive rock. So it's interesting. They're definitely they're kind of in a league of their own in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I never heard a band like. Of course, I mean, there's other bands probably like this, but I remember first time hearing like this album and just the different sound effects thrown in and all this stuff. It's very creative, I think, what they do. And of course, I think it's a concept album of some kind. Yeah. That there's some kind of story. I don't always follow stories when I listen to an album that other people do. Anyway, so there's something maybe deeper in the album that I'm not getting. I just like the songs, you know. I was like, oh, these are cool sounding songs. Brain Damage is really good as well, and Eclipse was a cool ending to it. So there's still so many good songs on here. I had to put them number 5 on my list, and it's one that I probably need to listen more, maybe, and maybe it'll go up higher. But right now, I'm putting it at number 5, Dark Side of the Moon.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Hopefully, someone else will talk about it, and they can talk about it a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
All right, it's my turn. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of talked a little bit before we went live, but on my channel, I did a whole series where I went through my top 5 albums of each year of the 70s. And of course, I did 73. And it wasn't that long ago. And I will say it didn't really change since I made that video. So it's just, I'm basically going to repeat myself. But
well, pretend like we didn't see it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Hopefully people watching this haven't seen it either. But yeah, and I will say one more thing talking about 73. And yeah, 73 to me is just one of those years is where it is surprising how many great albums came out. And actually, I keep a catalog of my CD collection, and I like to categorize them like when they came out. And I found out that 1973 is the one year I have the most CDs in, apparently.
Really?
Yes, like about 50, 51 or 52 maybe. It wasn't by design. It just so happened to be 73. Wow. Yeah, but I can only choose 5, so here's what I got. So number 5, and again, hasn't changed from that video I did. It's going to be The Who. Quadrophenia.
Yep.
So this was their second really big concept album. Of course, Tommy is the one that really blew them up. So this came out. This is another one. This was their follow up to not Tommy. Who's Next? And this is pretty big album to follow. Pretty big shoes to fill after the success of Who's Next. But I really enjoy this one, and I will say I actually do prefer this album over Tommy personally, because I think the story to it, because it does tell us a story. I think the story is something that I kind of relate to more emotionally, because it's all about this boy named Jimmy who's kind of like part of the mod scene at that time, just this very angsty teenager, and because of that, most of his relationships start to deteriorate. He doesn't have a good relationship with his parents, his friends, even his girlfriend leaves him. So he's kind of left in this weird limbo, like where does he fit in the world? So he's kind of questioning his self-worth. That's just the simplified version of it. But you're just again, it's just something I relate to an extent. I was kind of an angsty teen growing up, so I guess I kind of relate. That's kind of why I gravitate towards it more. But other than that, the music itself is just really great. I mean, you have songs like "The Real Me," which has a great bass playing by John Entwistle. Then you have Cut My Hair. The Punk and the Godfather is really great. Helpless Dancer. Even Bellboy, which is a Keith Moon on lead vocals, which is kind of goofy, but
Of course,
it's still a fun it's a fun little track. And of course you have to mention the closing song with Love Reign Over Me, which arguably one of Roger's greatest vocal performances recorded. Just the emotion and the power behind it is just absolutely sends chills down my spine when I hear it.
It's my favorite song on the album. That
Oh
one.
yeah, it's probably mine as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
100%.
it's probably my top 10 Who songs, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it's a really great album. I just really enjoy it. This is one album I need to hear more because I feel like I like it more and more the more I hear it. So yeah, it's gonna be number 5.
Yeah, like I've only recently listened to that album. But yeah, I thought it was really good.
All right, cool.
It was towards the bottom of my Who list.
Right.
It was one of my least favorite, but that's just me.
My dad here. Yeah, I was listening to the song The Joker.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I wasn't sure about those people shouting in the background in some of the song, though. But there's some people that can't remember what they were saying. But yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
My fifth favorite album, 1973, is Ringo's self-titled.
Ringo. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of back
It's-
there.
Oh,
It's my second favorite Ringo album. My favorite is Time Takes Time, which came out 19 years later. But if you've not listened to a Ringo album, this is probably where I would start, and then probably go with the next album, Goodnight Vienna. But for the Ringo self-titled album, yeah, I think it's excellent. You've got all the Beatles on this, doing songwriting and backing vocals. On
Yeah.
some of the tracks, the first track, John wrote and he did the backing vocals for, which is I'm the Greatest. It's also got the
Yeah.
song Photograph. That's one of my favorite Ringo songs.
So good.
Yeah.
So
And
that's great.
George wrote that one.
Yeah.
He also wrote Sunshine, Life for Me, and also Ringo did a cover of You're 16.
Yeah.
He did
Okay.
that with
That's a good one.
Harry Nilsson.
Okay.
Yeah, Harry Nilsson did backing vocals and that one. You've also got another one of my favorite Ringo songs with 6 O'Clock. Paul and Linda McCartney both wrote that one and did backing vocals on it. You've also got Mal Evans. He appears on the album as well. I can't remember what he does on the album, but I think he appears on one of the last tracks. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic album. I really enjoy it from start to finish. I just prefer the other albums that are in my top 5.
I didn't get around to listening to that one.
I definitely recommend listening to that one.
Yeah, I need to listen to some Ringo.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to have that
That's
Ringo's getting some love.
Oh yeah.
And I'll agree, it is a pretty good album.
Okay.
As of course I own it, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Number 4 for me, going for one of my favorite bands, and it's actually my favorite album from them, and it's Desperado by the Eagles. Which, you'd be surprised, of course, I'm a big fan of Hotel California, but even Nick and Scott said on their stream, they mentioned that Desperado is my favorite Eagles album and how they're surprised. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's surprising because it's not as well. It's still a pretty well received album, but not maybe as well received as Hotel California. But I really like this album, and it's because it has some really good deep cuts, I guess, hidden gem songs that I when I listen to the album, I'm like, wow, I'm really enjoying this. It's their second album, so it's like very early Eagles. I think before Walsh and maybe John Fielder joined.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the guitar
Bernie
player.
Lydon.
Yeah. But it's cool because it's a concept album, not concept album maybe, but a themed album of the Old West, I guess. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of a
it
loose
has
concept album.
loose, yeah. It has Old West theme to it, so everything
Mhm.
kind of has a song kind of dealing with cowboys and stuff, and it's definitely got Eagles is interesting. I said I love the Eagles. The harmonies are amazing. I think the guitar playing is great here.
Mhm.
Obviously, really good songwriting by Henley and Fry. Really good stuff. And it's definitely got a country, definitely more country-ish than like Hotel California, I think, because of the Old West theme. It's definitely got there's some banjo playing in one of the
Yeah.
songs, which
Yeah, that
I
was
kind of enjoyed. I
Leiden's.
was like,
That was Leiden's thing. Leiden was kind of came from a country background, so
oh, okay,
yeah.
that makes sense.
I know he was part of the Flying Burrito Brothers, I think.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know some other people joined. Someone joined from the Birds from that or something. Am I crazy?
It was I forgot his name already, but I know guy. Yeah, what's his name? I did a whole series about the Birds. I should know this by now.
I know somebody came
Yeah.
from anyways, and like, or a bunch of different
Anyway,
people
yeah.
came from different bands and did that. But yeah, I like the banjo being played in some parts anyways, but going through it, Dueling Dalton, a really great opener, a really fun song. It's one I never heard before until the album, and I was like, I really like this song. In fact, they do it twice. They do like a reprise, like instrumental. Obviously, Desperado, one of the great ballads. Maybe totally different from what you usually hear. I feel like from the Eagles, it's just a straight-on ballad. Piano's beautiful. There's a famous Seinfeld episode where they start singing Desperado and the person just stops and just everybody shut up. I have to listen to the song. And so I always think about that because it's kind of like that. It's one of those songs where you like hear it and you're like, everybody shut up. I need to listen to this. This is so good, Great song. My favorite song actually is Tequila Sunrise, probably. I love the guitar on that. It's just an easygoing song. And the harmonies, so good. It's my favorite thing about the Eagles. But also you got Certain Kind of Fool, which is a really good song that you might not have heard of on here. Again, yeah, just a great vocals on there. Outlaw Man's probably the most rocking song on here, but it's a really cool kind of country rock song, I guess you can say. And then Saturday Night is absolutely amazing. It's maybe my third favorite on here. And again, the harmonies are just it's really, really good on here. Great melodies. But yeah, I love Desperado. It's number 4 on my list.
Very good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're familiar, Adam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like Quadrophenia, I've only heard it once. But I'm very familiar with the title track, though. I've heard that so many times. Yeah.
All right. It was Graham Parson, by the way. That was the name I was blanking on.
Yes, Graham Parsons. Yep.
Yes. All right. Okay, number 4, and I'm pretty sure this will be mentioned later on, so I'm going to keep mine brief. It's number 4. Of course, it's Paul McCartney and Wings, Band on the Run.
And
again, I'll keep it short. I'll let the experts talk about it later. But yeah, this was his third album from Wings. And of course, this blew up. This definitely brought Paul back because prior he was struggling a little bit in terms of the critics.
Yeah.
Definitely were giving him a hard time, but this definitely helped shut them up because this is Paul's comeback, and for good reason. Because of course, before I continue, of course, rest in peace to Denny Lane, who just passed away not too long ago.
Yeah.
So there he is, right there.
Yeah, Denny Lane.
Yeah, I mean his contributions to this album definitely so good. His guitar playing, and he even co-wrote one of the songs, "No Words," which is a pretty good one. And yeah, I mean, starts out with the title track, and again, the title track is just so good. Just all the different parts to it. The use of the keyboards and synthesizers in the intro just sounds really nice. And then you have the orchestration done by Tony Visconti, adding that dynamic to it, and then you get the main melody, the main song, shall we say. It's just this very catchy chorus to it, and Paul sounds fantastic. You have Jets, which is a good rock number, and again, the synthesizer on that one's really, really nice. Ballads like Bluebird, very beautiful track, and Mrs. Vanderbilt's just great bass playing on that track as well. One of Paul's great bass lines. Let me roll. It's a nice, good kind of mid-tempo rock song, which John Lennon would kind of steal for the song Beef Jerky on his Wall and Bridges album.
Really?
Yes. You can go look it up. It definitely is very similar. Yeah. Then how you say this again? I forgot how you pronounce this, but anyway, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a nice one as well. No Words, I already mentioned. Co-wrote with Denny Lane. Also really like Picasso's Last Words, and really great closing track with 1985. Just that piano riff is just so good. And I kind of like they bring it full circle at the very end. They brought back the band on the run. So yeah, it's a fantastic album, and I'll briefly mention Hell on Wheels because that was on the North American release. It's a fine song. I like it, but I kind of do prefer it. I kind of prefer it as this. I don't really care. I kind of like. I kind of prefer the UK version. Yeah. I think that's a better closing track. Actually, I don't think that's a better closing track because in the US, Hell on Wheels was the last song, but yeah, I think 1985 is a much better closing track. But yeah, there you go. Number 4, Band on the Run.
Got to say, I find lots of early 70s original great quality, a bit thin, sounded, but hi-fi equipment was really poor. And people didn't know any different. Massive sound, but sound much better. I think most of the time it does. Oh, it just got going for Rich.
Hey, Rich.
Hello, Rich. It's a great year. Features so many great albums to choose from. Have a nice stream, guys, and happy holiday season. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
You
Happy
too.
holidays.
Yeah. Well, my number 4. It's also Band on the Run.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
You pretty much just said everything that I wanted to say about the album, really.
I try to keep it brief.
It starts off with the best two tracks on the album. In my opinion, you got Band on the Run, and then you got Jet, and then things start to slow down a bit with Bluebird, and you got some Mrs. Vanderbilt, which I think is a very underrated song. I really love Mrs. Vanderbilt. And then you got Let Me Roll It, which is another classic Paul McCartney and Wings song. Then you got the song No Words and Mamunia. Yeah, I really enjoy those 2 tracks. And you got Picasso's last words, drink to me. And then it ends with 1900 and 85, perfect album closer. And I personally love the song. Hell on the Wheels, but yeah, 1985 was the best way to end the album.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not got many tracks, but it's a very consistent album though.
Right.
Yeah, but 9 songs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nine tracks. But yeah, it's one of I think it's probably my favorite Paul McCartney Wings album. Yeah, it's an excellent one.
Well, you're hitting on the post-Beatle solo albums, Adam.
Yeah, well, there's no more. There's no more.
Okay.
From now on, so yeah, it was just when they were filing on the 4.
I said there's a John Lennon and George Harrison album this year too.
Yeah.
They're both probably be my top 10. Just didn't quite make my date with top 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're also going with the English. I'm going with English too, I guess. I have a lot of English in my.
Yeah. Yeah, all my picks are English.
Almost all my picks. Well,
All mine, but one band.
at least 3 of them are English. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, number 3 for me is an album I just kind of was listening to this last week because it's one of my favorite artists, but I haven't really gone into all of his albums. I've kind of briefly, and I know Bryer has this album. He got this album recently, and that is "There Goes Ryman Simon"
Mm.
from Paul Simon, which
I just heard
has
it earlier.
maybe
I
the
just heard
worst
it earlier today.
Yeah, it's not that
worst
great of a
album
cover.
cover.
Ugh.
I don't mind the album cover.
Oh, you don't?
No, I quite like it.
It's kind of, I don't know, all over the place. I don't know. Like just pick one
I
picture.
like it.
Bryer, because he bought this, I think, recently, or someone gave it to him recently.
Yeah, it was given by a viewer.
Yeah, you got like 3 Paul Simon or something. I can't remember. You got
Yeah.
some of his big ones, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this one I was kind of like, I think I've listened to it, but it's been a while, so I had to re-listen to it. And yeah, I absolutely love the album. Paul Simon, love Paul Simon. Of course, I'm a huge Simon Garfunkel fan, and now Paul Simon's going his solo career. And this is fairly early in the solo career. I want to say one of the second or third album he
yeah, I
came
think
out
it's his
with.
third. I think it's his third album.
Third. Yeah, it's like his third, because there's Paul Simon. Yeah, last year, because I gave Paul Simon's debut album, I think, honorable mention.
Yeah, it's kind of his real debut was the Songbook one.
Yeah,
and then his second one is this self-titled album.
Self-titled, yeah,
from 72.
And I like the self-titled too. It was an honorable mention last year when we did the stream last year. But this time I got There Goes Ryman Simon. Yeah, Simon loved the acoustic guitar with the vocals are so good. He has such a nice sounding voice. I love singer-songwriters, so they always are up on my list a lot of times. And Paul Simon's definitely one of them. You start with Kodachrome. I think it's a really nice sounding song. I really like that one. And it was, I think, a hit song on the radio. It seems like I've heard that before. But it's a really catchy tune. I like it a lot. Take Me to the Mardi Gras, I really like. That's a song I wasn't familiar with. And when I was listening to it on the album, I was like, I really like this song. This is like a really cool song that I need to listen to more. American Tune is amazing. I feel like this would have been a great Simon Garfunkel song. Like, it's got that great, acoustic guitar and easy sounding, great lyrics, easy sounding, again, talking about America, he has a song called America, even with Simon Garfunkel. Now this is American Tune. It kind of goes really good hand in hand with that song. But man, it's some of his best stuff, I think. And my favorite song on here is actually Something So Right, which I think is just amazing lyrically. And I've heard him sing this, like he sang it on Saturday Night Live. I remember watching that footage from way back. He was the second host of Saturday Night Live back in 1975. And he sang like 5 songs, and he sang a couple with Garfunkel, and he sang Something So Right. I think it was on that one. Maybe it was a different one, but because he hosted a bunch. But I remember seeing that and going, wow, this song's amazing. And it's not like a hit song that I know of, or maybe a mild hit, but it wasn't like one of his most well-known ones. But it is so amazing. I mean, again, Simon Garfunkel, I keep saying that, Paul Simon's voice with the guitar, just so soothing, I guess. He's really soothing type music. And overall, I don't know, it might be my favorite. It's hard. I like Graceland is really good. Still Crazy After All These Years. Is that something like that?
Yeah.
Still Crazy. Yeah. That's a good album too, but I really like this one. Might be my favorite Paul Simon album.
Nice.
Funny you talk about the album. I was just listening to it early today for the first time.
Oh, really?
Wow.
It was the last album I had to hear for 1973. Yeah, I think it's a really good album.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think my favorite Paul Simon album might be this self-titled album.
Oh yeah, that's good too. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think it's a really good album. But my favorite song on it is American Tune.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Paul Simon songs.
Yeah, me too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. Okay, next number 3 for me. Okay, next up, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
All
Of
right.
course,
Yeah.
this is because he released 2 albums in 1973.
Yeah.
Previous one was Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player. Then he followed up with this one the same year, which is a double album.
Yeah.
And to me, it's one of the great double albums in music. Just so many fantastic songs on here. I mean, I'm not going to go through every track because there's 17 songs, so I'll give the
Yeah.
just give the highlights. I mean, it starts out with Funeral for a Friend / Love Lies Bleeding. It's an 11-minute track, but it's just a great, amazing way to open the album. I know for Funeral for a Friend, Elton kind of wrote that, kind of thinking to himself, if I were to die, what music would I play? And and that's basically what you hear. But then he goes to Love Lies Bleeding, which is a lot more upbeat. The guitars really come in, and
Mhm.
the whole band. The Elton John's band at this point was just top notch. You have John Stone on guitar, Nigel Olsson on drums, and Dee Murray on bass. I mean, those three just absolutely are incredible. But then you have the next track, which is "Candle in the Wind," another one of Elton's big songs. Which, funny enough, wasn't that huge when it first came out. It didn't become huge until I believe he released a live version of it in the 80s or 90s, and then of course there was Princess Diana.
Princess Di,
Yeah,
like the greatest selling song or something. I can't. It
yeah,
was huge. Yeah.
hmm exactly. Still, the original version, which was for Marilyn Monroe, still very great as well. Then you have Benny and the Jets, of course, another big hit. I mean, then another big hit with the title track. So literally, this whole album starts out with song after song, just these big songs by him. Then you have some more deep cuts, which I also really enjoy. Like this song has no title, Gray Seal, Sweet Painted Lady, the Ballad of Danny Bailey, which is about this. I think it's based on a real gangster, and I really love the bass intro to it. Very interesting bass tone in the beginning of that song. Then you have probably one of my favorite Elton John deep cuts, which is all the girls love Alice. Just a really great rock song, and the guitar riff on that one is just so good. And yeah, then you have of course another well-known song, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, another great rock song.
Yeah.
Just never lights up. It just rocks the entire time. But yeah, then you have Roy Rogers. Again, that's kind of Bernie Taupin's little salute to one of the shows he watched when growing up. Then it closes out really nice with harmony, just a really pretty way to close out the album with the harmonies from all the band members, just perfect to close it off. So yeah, it's a double album. This is definitely one I would say I would not cut anything out. I think every song, pretty much most of the songs here are top notch. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Jamaica Jerk Off, because I think that's kind of a bit corny, but and I don't think it aged. I don't think it aged that well. But regardless, it's still top to bottom. It's still an album I can still play all the way through, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, that's number 3.
Great choice.
Yeah. Hello, Mickey.
Hello.
How is everybody?
Good,
Pretty
Mickey.
good. All festive.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 3 is pronounced Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
It takes about 5 minutes to always spell the title though, to get the exact apostrophes right and everything.
Fell out.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Band the Run is only got 9 tracks. This has got 8 tracks. Only 4 songs each side, but they're all fantastic songs though. I think they're all a bit amazing. But my favourites are probably Tuesday's Gone and Freebird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it starts off great with I Ain't the One. Then it goes to Tuesday's Gone. Then Give Me 3 Steps, and the first side ends with Simple Man. Then you got things going on. Mississippi Kid, Poison Whiskey, and Freebird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 40 minutes with eight tracks. All of them are quite long songs, but I think most of them kind of fly by. Really doesn't feel like 40 minutes when you listen
Really,
to
no.
it. I've only heard this album once, so I've got to definitely listen to it again at some point. I might buy it on CD after Christmas, maybe. And listen to it some more because I think it's a brilliant album.
Yeah, nice to see some Southern rock being represented today.
Yeah. That's the only album I've listened to of Leonard Skinner. I think it might be their best one just by listening to it, just because it has some huge hits on it. I'm like,
Right.
I can't imagine any album being better than that one.
It's almost like a best of the Leonard Skinner.
Oh yeah, Freebird, Give Me. Well, it doesn't have. I guess. What's
Sweet
it called?
Home, Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on the second album.
That's not on that.
It's in that song.
But
Yeah.
still, Freebird's huge. I mean, and then
Mhm.
Give Me 3 Steps and Simple
Yeah,
Man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Freebird has one of the most iconic guitar solos in rock.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that there's a film called Freebird as well.
Oh yeah, that's a Thanksgiving thing though. Gotta pass that.
Yeah.
Well, then again, you have turkey and there's turkey and things on Christmas. I think.
Oh yeah.
Some people do.
Yeah.
I guess it's not totally off.
No, it's not. All right. So we get number 2, and I'm going with what Bryer already talked about. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, at number 2 on my list. And I love Elton John. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. Always been a big fan. He's got so many huge hits. Love the piano. I love his piano playing. Love his vocals. And this is one I've listened to, and I've always thought this was probably my favorite. But I have to admit, I haven't done like a deep dive on Elton John yet. So once I do that, I'll get a little more perspective, I guess, of what my favorite is. But I think this probably would be my favorite. I need to listen to Madman Across the Water because I know that's like a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but it'd be hard to beat this one. This is a really good album. And when I re-listened to it this last week, I was like, oh man, this is one of the greats. I mean, last year I had Honky Chateau, I think, was like number 3 or 4 on my list last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the second time I got an Elton John album on here, which I thought was, I have to admit, much better than Don't Shoot Me on the Piano Player. I didn't think it was okay. That was an okay album, but not nearly as good as this one, in my opinion. But I do love the title, though. Don't Shoot Me. That's like one of my favorite titles of an album. It's so good. But yeah, this one, Bryer mentioned, I mean, it's got some huge hits. Some of my favorite Elton John songs. I mean, Candle in the Wind is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I love Candle in the Wind. Benny and the Jets is one of my all-time favorite Elton John songs. It's so fun. That piano, that dun 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 dun. Dun. I don't know how it almost sounds like it's almost off key at times, but it fits so perfectly. I love how he plays that. It's such a fun, upbeat song. And the Benny and like how he does that, so good. And it's funny when you listen to these old Elton John, like sometimes I forget how good of a singer he is because now he doesn't sing too well. When I hear him now,
yes, it's lowered a lot.
He's not terrible, but he just can't sing high notes anymore. But when you hear these, man, he hits these high notes, and you're like, oh man, that's so good. Like I bet it'd been fun to watch like an Elton John concert back in 1973 or whatever. It'd been so amazing. But Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, it's such a beautiful song. Absolutely love that. Yeah, when he goes into that high falsetto, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It's just the music is so beautiful. It's so good. But yeah, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting was a hit song as well. So it's got 4 pretty big hits on here, I would say. And then all the other songs are really good as well, like Bryer said. I mean, 17 songs. There was, mostly there's a couple maybe that I wasn't as big of, but for the most part, they're all just really solid songs. Like I put down Great Steel. I thought it was a really good song I wasn't familiar with. And I was like, wow, I really like this song. And then I also put down This Song Has No Title. I thought it was really good. Like a song, some couple, and there's other ones I couldn't name all of them, but those are some I mentioned that were some good hidden gems on here. But yeah, some of the best Elton John you're ever going to hear, in my opinion. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Okay, number 2. All right, so of course, if people who did watch that video, I did. Definitely people who know me are shocked to know that this band did not hit number 1 for me. But
yeah,
they're placed strategically behind me. Number 2 is the self-titled album from Queen, which I also have on CD too. All right, so yep, I know I really wanted them to be number 1, but there's just one album I was like, I can't deny
okay.
it. Yeah. But of course, this is Queen at their rawest. Obviously, they're a brand new band. Of course, let me see. I love the back cover, by the way. The back cover has all these images of the band here. This whole collage. You see Brian May with a beard there.
Yeah.
And of course, this is the only album where John Deacon is credited as Deacon John, because they thought it would make him sound cooler. But by the time you get to the second album, John was like, "Can I have my name back, please?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine." But yeah, like I was saying, even though this is them still kind of still trying to find their own unique voice, but still, you can still hear the seeds of what they would become. Because right off the bat, it starts out with "Keep Yourself Alive," and you can already hear Brian May's unique guitar sound. That's definitely sets them apart. And Freddie Mercury's vocals, again, very unique, very theatrical. Of course, he would take it even further later on down the road. But yeah, the songs here, like I already mentioned, "Keep Yourself Alive," and then you have "Doing All Right," which is a great, nice song. It starts out very slow, like almost like a ballad, but then it starts to really ramp up, and then just goes into this big rock number where the guitars just come straight, come barreling in, just shocks you awake, and it's just like a great song. That's actually one of the songs that Brian had pre-Queen when he was part of Smile. You can actually find old recordings of them during the Smile era, and their singer at the time, Tim Staffeld, where he's the one that's doing the lead parts, which is kind of interesting. And you hear it in the movie too.
Yeah.
They actually did get Tim to re-record his vocals for the movie.
Wow.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Because they still kind of keep in touch.
Okay.
But anyway, but then you have some of the more obscure songs. Like you have a song called "Great King Rat." Again, that kind of Freddie. Freddie was into that whole at that point very into like fantasy type of things, like kings and stuff like that. So I always enjoyed that one. Very cool. Then side 1 closes with "My Favorite King." Again, you can hear their harmony really starting to come in at this point as well. Side 2 opens with one of my favorite Queen songs. I don't think it was in my top 10 when we did it on my channel, but I think it was like an honorable mention at least. You have "Liar." Again, killer rock song. Again, the guitar work, Freddie's like very gravelly vocals, and then you have John Deacon, who gets a chance to shine a little bit. He gets a little bass solo in here. Yes, fantastic song. "Night Comes Down" is pretty good. Roger Taylor gets a lead vocal on "Modern Time Rock and Roll." Short, sweet song, but it's pretty fast paced. "Son and Daughter," really great, very heavy track. Then you have "Jesus." Then you have the "Seven Seas of Rye," which was a kind of an instrumental, not the polished version that they would do on the second album, but it's kind of like a little hint on what's to come on the next album. But still, great debut album. Again, I do enjoy a lot of early Queen. But they're a lot heavier, even though they're still trying to find their way here. And of course, didn't sell well at all. But still, it's kind of like a little hidden gem in their catalog, I think. So it's number 2 on my list.
Yeah. Where was it on your Queen list? It was pretty high.
Yeah, I think it was number 5, I think.
5. Okay, yeah.
Great choices there.
Oh yeah, those some good stuff.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned Houses of the Holy yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll admit, yeah, that one kind of just barely missed it.
yeah, me too.
Well, my second and third favourite are 1973 are both behind me. But which one's my second favourite?
I'm gonna say,
It's behind you.
yeah, it's either Elton John or Pink Floyd.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Goodbye the Road, my second favourite.
There you go.
So mine
Got
too.
it.
Okay, cool.
And all three of us have gone with Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, and then Bryer
I
had it.
was
Yeah,
I
number
was
3. Yeah.
going for it.
Wow.
But you got Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. Yeah, it's a fantastic album opener. And then you got Candle in the Wind, which is one of my favourite songs of 1973. I may or may not be talking about it later.
Okay.
Same goes for Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the title track. But also I really enjoy Benny and the Jets as well. And we really enjoy some of the deeper cuts like Grey Seal and Sweet Painted Lady, as well as Saturnight. Alright Fighting is one of the big songs on the album, and love the song Harmony as well. Yeah, I think it's a perfect double album, and well, a near perfect double album. It's my favorite. It's my favorite Elton John album.
Okay.
But the second favorite is probably Bad Man, Across the Water, and then my third favorite's either self-titled or the Captain Fantastic one.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it was definitely peak Elton John with this
Yeah.
album. It was just incredible double album. Yeah.
All
So number one.
All right, number 1. Let me get something real quick for my number 1.
I think, yeah, I know it's coming.
Well, my number
Look,
one's
oh my God, Jason's on the run.
Jason on the Run.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just now thought about this.
thought it might be a number one.
Number 1, everybody knows my number 1 probably.
Mhm.
I even have part of it back here. Yeah,
Yeah, the little poster.
little poster back here of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's Band on the Run.
Mhm.
By Paul McCartney and Wings there. Yeah, and the great Danny Lane there, who was a guitar player for the band. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, I just absolutely love this album. But I wanted to grab this because I just not thought about it. This is the McCartney Legacy Volume 1, 69 to 73. I have like 7 pages left, and I'm done with this book.
Wow.
Hmm.
How long did it take to read through all that?
What?
How long did it take?
Well, I'm not consistent enough. Like I'll read a little bit here and there, and so it's taken me several months to get through it. But
That's
when
how I
do
read.
reading, I really get into the book because I love Paul McCartney. He's one of my favorite. Because there's 675 pages or so in the book, so I'm about done with it. But so yeah, this is volume 1. It only covers 4 years of his life, so there's going to be more volumes coming out that this 2 authors are writing about Paul McCartney, so I'm like totally on board. Like, yeah, give me more Paul McCartney. But so the book ends with them talking about Band on the Run, basically. So I've been reading a lot about Band on the Run because that's what they've been talking about. And it's so interesting because you have the Wings, and I'm not going to remember all the names. I'm not real good with all the names, but there was a guitar player. I want to say his name is McAuliffe or McCullough. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think he's like an Irish guitar player. He kind of got in a lot of fights with Paul because there was a lot of infighting because and McCullough, or how you pronounce his name, he drank quite a bit, so he was kind of an angry drunk sometimes, and he complained a lot about Linda because Linda McCartney was in the band, but she's not really like a great musician. She can kind of play piano, but she's not like a great piano player. And she can kind of sing, but not a great singer. But it's one of those things, of course, that was kind of nepotism of Paul, forced Linda into the band. And some of the other band members didn't quite like that. They're like she's not good enough to be, I don't know. So there's some kind of infighting. And so he quits the band, like right before they're going to start making this album. And then right after he quits, the drummer, he quits the band too. Decides he wants to go off on his own. So it's Paul McCartney wings, but there's only 3 of them: Paul McCartney, Lynn McCartney, and Danny Lane. Whatever. That's pretty much a whole band at this point. So 2 of his band members leave, in which they weren't very happy about, especially the drummer. They really needed the drummer. I think they thought we could do without the guitar player, but Paul. The great thing about Paul is Paul can do everything. He can play every instrument. So Paul's like, I'll play the drums too. It's like, I'll just do the guitar, the bass, the drums. He's that kind of, luckily he's just that kind of person. So they're able to pull through. They decided that they wanted, it was kind of popular at this point to go to a foreign country and make your album. And there's a couple other, I forget, I didn't realize this, but he gave some other examples of other people that went to other foreign countries to do their albums. And even Ginger Baker spent a lot of time in this Lagos, I pronounce it, in Africa.
Yeah.
Because there's a studio there, evidently, for some reason. I don't know why. and Ginger Baker spent a lot of time there. So Paul McCartney's like, let's go there and record this album. And of course they get there and it's like, oh no, this is like a really terrible third world country. It's culture shock big time. And I think they kind of, I don't know if I want to say they regretted it, but I think they definitely had second thoughts about this is a good idea. It wasn't the best place to record an album, but like I said, it was kind of a popular thing to do at the time. So they go there to record their, partly kind of record the album. And there's a lot of issues. Like there were some people from Africa that were kind of protesting them, like you're stealing our music or something. I don't know. I didn't quite understand what the deal was, and Paul McCartney like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And so he had a hard time. He wanted to get some African musicians in, but he had a hard time getting, I think he got like one guy to come in and do some kind of drum stuff. Anyways, but a lot of interesting stories throughout that. They were told not to go walking outside at night. And Paul McCartney was like, I'll walk outside of New York all the time. And, I have never been mugged. So he's like, him and Linda one night go walking outside and a group, like a car group full of people come by and basically rob them at gunpoint, come out and rob them. And it was just, which I can't imagine that would have been a really scary moment. And you're thinking, Paul McCartney could have died right there. I mean, that would have been the end of Paul McCartney. We would never, it would have been, John Lennon, before John Lennon. I mean, it'd been like, holy cow, that would be the hugest story of the 1970s. Paul McCartney gets killed in Africa, walking outside at night. But they didn't kill him because they go back and they talked and the guy said the only reason why they probably didn't kill Paul McCartney is because he was white. And they figured, white people probably can't tell black people the difference between us. If Paul McCartney's black, they probably would have shot him because they probably thought, he could, identify us. But because Paul McCartney was white, they thought, and Linda was white, they thought, they can't identify us. We look all the same to them. And so that saved them somehow. And it's like, holy cow, like how close were they to that'd be the end of Paul McCartney. But anyways, and man, that would have been such a tragedy and such a, all this stuff. But anyways, there's so many interesting stories there. But yeah, so 3 of them work on this album and it ends up being my favorite Paul McCartney album and one of my favorite all time. So they knew what they're doing. And they go back, I think they go back to England and they finish up the album. Like Bryer said, they gave like songs to this one guy and you mentioned his name, Phil, I think you said Philip or something. And he basically gave him all the songs and said, okay, put some strings to these songs. And
Visconti. Yeah. Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting. He's like, now he's like, kind of like, now he's got to put strings to the, and hopefully please Paul McCartney and do the right strings and stuff. Of course, Paul McCartney.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, Tony Visconti was kind of a big name in music by that point. So it's kind of like there was some trust in that.
Well, he did a great job. So, I mean, he was the right guy to go to. But anyways, that's a lot of backstory to it. But also this picture,
Right.
the photographer, I just now read about the photographer. I forget. I think he was doing Pink Floyd's albums or something like that. And so he got this photographer because he wanted to do an interesting album cover or something like that. And so they, of course, came up with this idea of them like, jailbreak kind of. So they ordered black outfits for everybody, and they got people like Christopher Lee, famous actor, James Coburn, I think back there. So it's interesting kind of the different people that they got in there. And they evidently were drinking during this time, and they were just, so they were just having a blast, just drinking and so the photographer had a hard time getting them together, be like, all right, everybody stand still, and shut up and stand still, kind of thing. It took them an hour to get this photograph, and they just kind of basically like got them in position, and they took a bunch of photographs, and like out of like 100 photographs, they got like 4 really good ones, and this was one of the 4 like good ones, like where everybody was standing still and and everything. Anyways, so much interesting stuff there. And I'm sorry, I haven't talked about the album, but the album's perfect. Every song is amazing here. Band on the Run, I mean, amazing. And it's kind of because he was at this time still going through legal issues with the other Beatles and having to go to Apple, and he's having issues there. And so he kind of came up with the song because he felt like he was like in prison, having to go to these meetings and stuff. And he wanted to be, kind of like Band on the Run. He wanted to break out. So you really hear that with the stuck inside these 4 walls, never getting out, kind of, that first part of the song, and then they finally break out. So that's kind of where that song kind of comes from. But Jets, amazing rock song there. Bluebird, love the acoustic guitar. It reminds me of Blackbird a little bit, kind of style. And he also has a song on McCartney 3, Snowbird, I think.
Snowbird, I think.
Yeah.
Whitebird, something like that.
So he has
There's
3.
a couple of the songs on Paul McCartney 3. Trying to think what they are now. One of long-tailed Winterbird.
Winterbird, that was it.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Winterbird.
Yeah. So it's like a trilogy of bird songs. I always find it interesting. Blackbird, Bluebird, Winterbird. He's very good with the bird songs. The acoustic guitar in him is so good. Love that song. A great melody and all that. Let Me Roll It, great rock intro there. I love the rock guitar on there. No Words, like I said, beautiful. I love No Words, great harmonies and everything. I like, of course, the story behind Drink to Me, Picasso's Last Words, where he was at a party with Dustin Hoffman, and Dustin Hoffman's like, hey, can you write a song about, and like, can you write a song about anything, basically? And Paul's like, yeah, I can. And he points to this article in a paper or magazine of Picasso's Last Words, Drink to Me. And Paul McCartney does it. He goes out and writes a song, and I think it's a great song. I think it's considered maybe one of the weakest on the album, but I still really like it, The Drink to Me. It's like really fun, nice, catchy song. I don't know. It just shows how good Paul McCartney is at writing songs. He's like, yeah, I'll write anything. And it's just so crazy. And then 1985, love the piano. Yeah. It's so good. Harmonies are amazing. It's so cool because it begins with that upbeat piano and then it goes into just the ooh, and they're just like harmonizing. And then they go back to the dun 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 dun. Nice song. I remember I went and saw Paul McCartney in concert back in, I think it was 2017 or so. And I wasn't that familiar with his solo work, really. I was just mostly familiar with the Beatles, And he said, this song is for the real Wings fans. He said, basically, this is a song for people that are big fans of the Wings. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he played 1985, and I never heard that song before. And when I heard him play it live, I was like, this song's amazing. I don't know why I didn't know the song. So now every time I hear the song, I think about that, watching him in concert for the first time and going, oh my God, like hearing the song and like, okay, I have to listen to his solo work because I love what I'm hearing out of this. out of this stuff. But yeah, it's Paul McCartney's best, and McCartney's my favorite solo artist of all time. Of course, my favorite Beatle. It's just his peak of what he could do. I think there's some great stuff later on, but I don't think anything gets better than this album, Band on the Run, with the great melodies, harmonies, just great songwriting.
That's another album we've all got. Yeah. No top 5.
Yeah, I'm glad Bryer said I'll leave some more for
I'll leave
somebody else, and I was like,
exactly.
all right, I'm gonna lay it on. I'm gonna lay the information on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think me and Bryer have the same number 1.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's the only one I can think about.
Oh, not that one. This one. I already talked about that one.
Like Queen again?
Yeah. It's got number 1. It's Dark Side. I'll keep it brief so we'll have a chance to talk about it as well. But definitely one of the most important albums in music, especially in popular music. It's kind of a loose concept, just about the facets of the hardships of life. I mean, you have Breathe, which of course is just breathing, because every human needs to breathe to live. Then of course you have On the Run, which is supposed to be more of the worries of it, because of course it's symbolized with being in an airport, because airports, that having that fear of flying, that sort of thing, just that paranoia of the unknown, basically. Time, of course, time is just throughout life, time is just constantly moving, and there's really no time to just take a breath. Time is just constantly moving in. I really enjoyed this lyric towards the end, where at the very end it says, "The time is gone, the song is over. Thought I had something more to say." Yeah, just a perfect line. Just pretty much sums it up. And then it goes back into the Breathe reprise. Then you have The Great Gig in the Sky, and I am going to be on Scott's side on that one. I love The Great Gig in the Sky. To me, it's one of the great female vocal performances I ever heard. It just sends chills, because it's supposed to symbolize death, and when she's singing, it's kind of like all the 5 stages of grief, basically. Like denial, then you have like anger, then at the very end she kind of accepts it, like kind of accepts death. Yeah, it's just a beautiful performance, and all improvised, because there's a story behind that, because they brought her in. Claire Torrey was her name, and the band didn't really have a direction for her. They were like, sing something, do something, and she was kind of like, okay. And she's and so she did a couple takes, but the band were still like, it's not quite it, until eventually she changed it up and be like, okay, how about I just pretend I'm an instrument or something like that. And that's what she did. She just kind of improvised this like very this crazy like vocal thing, and again the band just loved it. And of course the band didn't tell her that they loved it. She was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to be on the record. But then when she actually did hear it, she was like, oh wow, they actually used it. Of course, she wasn't credited before. It wasn't until years later they decided to give her credit, because she did kind of write that part herself. So
I'm still waiting for Weird Al to parody that one.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if Weird Al to parody in that song.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then of course side 2 you have Money. Again, one of the most iconic bass lines, of course. That's another.
I figured you like that bass line.
That's a fun song to play. I can do the bass line. Yeah, it's such a groovy line, and of course has one of my favorite David Gilmour guitar solos. Of course, Gilmour's definitely up there in terms of one of the great guitar players, I think. And Jason also mentioned Us and Them, which that's what probably my favorite on the album as well. Just a beautiful song. Again, it has this very almost calming at
Yes.
first, but then it changes up to the chorus, and again it's just so big and dynamic, and then it just goes back to the quietness. I believe that's supposed to be about war. I think about the differences between.
Had the great
humans.
sax solo in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great saxophone.
I love
playing.
this.
Yeah, there was a saxophone solo on Money, and then the sax player is here again on For Us and Them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I love sax. Maybe it's those two songs why I like the sax so much.
Yeah.
Then you have Brain Damage, or sorry, there's Any Color You Like, which is an instrumental track. Kind of definitely a very kind of a can't really describe what kind of music that is, but great keyboard playing by Richard Wright on that track, and some again more great guitar playing. Brain Damage, and then which of course followed by Eclipse, which those songs are usually played together, especially on radio. They always put those two songs together. It's kind of like We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. You got to play the songs back to back.
That makes sense.
And yeah, just a perfect way to close out the album. And of course, Brain Damage was supposed to be another kind of nod to Syd Barrett, because of course he had mental problems.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that song was kind of inspired by him.
Yeah.
And yeah, Eclipse. Then again, Eclipse just with a perfect way to close out the album, just bringing it back. I forgot to mention that in the beginning of the album, it starts with a heartbeat.
Yeah.
At the end of Eclipse, they brought the heartbeat back again, bringing it full circle because life is a cycle. So it's just a well-crafted, well-put-together album, and definitely a must listen for any music fans, because of its, especially the musicianship and the meaning behind it. Very relatable, still relevant to this day for most people, and yeah, definitely number one for 1973. Just don't listen to the Roger Waters version that he released this year.
I
heard the version of Money. That was enough for me.
Yeah, no.
I think he recites a poem.
Yes.
Just
like all the guitar, no guitar solos. It's just Roger giving this long, drawn out, spoken word poetry.
Okay.
And the music's just so boring too.
And I mean, what a great album cover, I would say.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the great album covers, yeah.
Yeah, it's so iconic, even though it's not a lot going on, maybe necessarily, but I don't know, it's great though somehow.
Exactly.
I'll just quickly talk about the album. But when I first heard it, I wasn't really sure what to think of the album. But the more I listen to it, the more I love it. And now it's in my top 10 albums of all time. Yeah, I think it might even be my top 5 albums. Wow. Yeah, and of course I saw this in a concert as well. Pink Floyd tribute.
Yeah,
it was the Australian Pink Floyd, and he played the entire album.
Really,
from start to finish. Yeah, but before the album came on, there was about 5 minutes of hearing the heartbeat, which would be in the album. But about 5 minutes of that.
5 minutes.
I got a bit bored listening to the heartbeat by the time they started the concert. But they sang all sorts of Pink Floyd songs. There was even a giant kangaroo,
oh really?
Yeah, kangaroo thing in the concert.
I guess it's to replace the pig. I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, the Dark Side of the Moon. You got Speak to Me, which has loads of different sound effects. I think pretty much all the sound effects that you hear throughout the album. You've also got Breathe in the Air, which I don't think it's one that enough people talk about. I think it's a really excellent track. And you got on the Run, which it's a really good instrumental. But then you got the song Time, which is my favorite song on the album, and it's got some Pink Floyd's best lyrics as well. But yeah, I think it's a perfect song. And the great Geekless Guy. I wasn't really a fan of this song when I first heard it, but now I think it's really great. And when I saw it in a Pink Floyd tribute concert, I thought it was fantastic. Then when I first heard it, it felt longer than 4 minutes. The song, but it goes by quite quick now. It doesn't really feel like that, like to me. And then you got the track "Money," which used to be my favorite song on the album, but it's one of my favorite songs on the album. Yeah, it's an amazing song. I love the saxophone solo and the guitar solo on that one. And then you got the song "Us and Them," which another one of my favorite songs on the album. Then you got "Any Color You Like," which I think it's a really good instrumental. Then you got the song "Brain Damage," and then it finishes with "Eclipse." Yeah, I think the album bookends it brilliantly because you've got the heartbeat at the beginning and it ends with a heartbeat. Yeah, I just think it's a perfect concept album and it's my favorite concept album. Yeah.
I had number 5, and you guys, both got number 1. I knew. I was like, I said,
yeah.
Top 5.
I said this is everybody's favorite, and I was right. Yep. I'm the only one that doesn't have a number 1, but
as this live stream's going on for quite a bit, maybe we should just quickly go through our top 5 songs. We'll see how quick we can get through them. So I think for a change, I'll let you go first, Bryer, and then Jason, then myself.
Right.
Are we going to give some honorable mentions for the albums?
We'll do that first. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple, but I'll let you go first, Jason.
Okay. Yeah. I really wish I could have gotten this on, but I barely missed out on House of the Holy. Really good Led Zeppelin album. Really lost out. Also, I really like Jim Croce's Life and Times.
That's one of my other mentions. That and I Got a Name as well.
Yeah, really good. Love all Jim Croce stuff. Also listened to Pronounced Leonard Skinner for the first time, and that was in my honorable mentions. I thought that was a really good Southern rock album, I guess. One of their best, I would suppose, even though I haven't heard all their stuff. But I thought that was really good. But yeah, I would say those are the 3 that I consider to be my top 5.
I'll also go with Mind Games and living in a material world.
Yeah, those are the other 2 Beatles.
Yeah. What about you, Bryer?
All right, I actually do have quite a bit. I'll go through them quickly. So
no, just kidding.
No, I'll say 15. So Alice Cooper, Billion Dollar Babies. Billy Joel, Piano Man.
Yeah, Piano Man.
Yeah.
Good.
Black Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Eagles, Desperado. I also do have Don't Shoot Me by Elton John as well. Fleetwood Mac, Mystery to Me. Genesis, Selling England by the Pound.
Right.
King Crimson, Larks, Tongues, and Aspic. Lou Reed with Berlin.
Okay.
The Doobie Brothers, The Captain Me, Led Zeppelin, House of the Holy, Ringo Starr with the Ringo album, Beach Boys, Holland, and then more obscure bands. The band's called Nectar, and I have the album Remember the Future, and last one I'll mention is Stevie Wonder with Inner Visions.
Okay, yeah, I
forgot about Desperado. That's another one of my honorable mentions.
Okay.
So I'll let you go first with your 5th favorite song from 1973, Bryer.
All
right. So 5th one, I'll make it quick. This is one that was not featured in my albums, but I mean the album where the song is from is more of a soundtrack, so not much to it. But the main song on here is definitely a great one. Of course, it's from this album, and of course I'm talking about Knocking on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those songs you hear a lot growing up. I think the first time I heard it was the Guns N' Roses cover.
Yeah.
Because of course my mom was a Guns N' Roses fan, so of course I heard that version. And then at some point, I know Eric Clapton did a version of it, and then it took me a long time before I actually heard the original. And I will say, I prefer Bob's version. I think
Bob's version.
Yeah, it's
my favorite version.
Yeah. It just sounds more earnest when he sings it. I just like the more, does have the kind of a bluesy, not quite country, but definitely has a more sentimental type of sound.
A little slower than the Guns N' Roses, I would say.
Yeah,
A
a
little
lot
more
slower, but yeah, again, I kind of like the
I wish
vibe.
the popular version had an extra verse to it.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was a little bit too short.
Okay.
His version. So otherwise, it's been a bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I agree. It's a bit short, but it starts and then it kind of closes out pretty quickly. But I kind of like the vibe that the original has that I don't think the other covers did. But yeah, it's just a really, really nice song, and yeah, it's number 5.
I guess I'm going next, right? Number 5. There's several Elton John songs I could have gone here, but I went with Daniel, which comes off of the
That's a good one. Yeah.
"Don't Shoot Me" on the piano player.
Yeah.
I love that song. It's one of my top favorite Elton John songs. It's so beautiful. I love the instruments in the background are so good. It's another easy sounding song, I guess. But and talking about Daniel, his brother, and I don't know, it's just a really nice song, and love his vocals. Again, he hits those high notes. Daniel, you're a star. Anyways, it's just a really wonderful sounding song.
Mm-hmm. Number 5 is the track "Band the Run."
All right.
Band the Run. Yeah, but there's all sorts of different parts. There's different parts to it, and yeah, it's one of my favorite Paul McCartney and Wings songs. It probably is my favorite Paul McCartney and Wings song.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely my top 3. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Yeah, what way of starting that album?
Yeah.
They couldn't have started it a better way. They really, really couldn't. It's over 5 minutes, the song, but it doesn't feel like 5 minutes. It feels like 4 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, number 4 for me. Again, surprisingly, they're not number 1. I'm gonna go back to Queen. Yeah, I already talked about before, but Liar, that's gonna be my number 4. Again, I'll just make it quick. Again, just one of their great, deep, more obscure songs. I think it was released as a single because there was a music video for it. But it's one of my favorites of this period. Again, great guitar riff by Brian May, and the drum intro by Roger Taylor is also really cool. And then you have, I already mentioned John Deacon's bass solo, and yeah, just so many great parts to the song. So yeah, it's number 4.
Number 4 for me, I'm going with "Something So Right" by Paul Simon from the Rhyme and Simon. Like I said, it's one of the best lyric songs, I think. Just mention the chorus. I love the when something goes wrong, I'm the first to admit it. I'm the first to admit it, but the last one to know. When something goes right, it's likely to confuse me. It's likely to lose me because I can't get used to something so right. I love those lyrics. Just perfect. And I always feel like I can feel those lyrics too. Yeah. When something goes right, it's just like, I don't understand. I'm not used to things going right, and I think a lot of people could probably feel that way too. But all throughout the whole song, the lyrics are just some of the best I think he's ever written. It's a really just beautiful song.
Mm-hmm. My number 4 is my favorite Pink Floyd song, and that's "Time." But I pretty much spoke about it when I talked about the album. Yeah, it's a brilliant song. It's got one of my favorite guitar solos.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't make my top 10 guitar solos, but it's in my top 15 guitar solos. And yeah, it's got some of my favorite lyrics that Pink Floyd ever did, but some of my favorite lyrics of all time, really.
Yeah, those are good lyrics.
Yeah. It's about 2 minutes of. I don't think the vocals come into about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Hey, it's called Time, so it's gonna take its time.
Yeah, it's gonna take its time. Yeah, but I still love the build up to it, though.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, my number 3 I'm also going to go with the Paul McCartney and Wings song, but it's actually not from Band on the Run. I'm going to go with Live and Let Die.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. From the
Yes,
Bond.
so again, the first time I heard this was the Guns N' Roses cover because they did a cut version of it too.
I don't
so
think I've
I
heard any of the covers, but Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
I
Again,
didn't know the Guns N' Roses cover.
yeah, they did. It was on a Greatest Hits,
Okay.
which I still have. But yeah, again, now that I know the original, the original is way better. Again, just the dynamics to the song is just so good. You have the piano, more slower parts, but then he says the live and let die land, and it goes poof, just crescendo, just big sounds. The orchestra comes in, and then the whole band starts to kick in. It's just this fast paced, very cool stuff. And again, just many great passages throughout, and Paul's vocals on it is just so cool, especially when he kind of does a little scream in the middle before it goes back into the main melody. Of course, this was for the James Bond film, and I just realized 2 songs in my top 5 were from a movie. I don't know why that is, but yeah, it's number 3.
I think it's my favorite
Bond song.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah, he talks about it a lot in this book. That's another really cool moment in the book. Talks about writing that song and
yeah, I agree, Mickey. Yeah,
it's one of the greatest moments I've ever had listening to them sing this live. Because when they go into when they switch, this fire comes from the stage, and I could feel the heat. And I wasn't that close to the stage, and I was like, "Holy cow! I feel the heat from the fire coming up from the stage." When they go into, and they shoot off these cannons, and it makes you go deaf. You're like, "Holy cow! That was so loud." It was crazy. Oh, wait a minute. It's me, number 3. Okay.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Okay. Number 3 for me is Over the Hills and Far Away from Led Zeppelin's House of the Holy. My favorite song off of that album. Love the acoustic guitar on here. It's funny, Led Zeppelin's known for the great rock riffs, but I love when they go acoustic at times. It's some of my favorite stuff when they get a little softer side to them. But yeah, I love the acoustic guitar on here. Love Robert Plant's voice. It's so good. The combination, it's an amazing song.
My turn.
Yeah.
Number 3 is my favorite Jim Croce song.
Okay.
Got a name. Yeah. Even though he didn't write this one.
Oh, really?
It was used for a film, but I can't remember what the film was called though.
Okay.
I've not seen it. But I think the first time I ever heard this song, it wasn't a movie, but it wasn't in that one. It was the Lego Ninjago movie.
Oh wow!
They played it during one of the chase scenes in the movie. I don't know. I can't remember what part of the movie it was, but yeah, that was the first time I heard it.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't recognize it then until I listened to it again on Spotify. But yeah, I think it's a pretty folk rock song.
Great.
Yeah. Can't get enough of that one. I forgot to also mention about the Pink Floyd album. That as them probably has my favorite chorus from the album. It's probably my favorite on the Dark Side on the main album. The chorus of Us and Them.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of Us and Them, my number 2.
Oh, the other 2 is Us and Them.
Yeah, number 2 is Us and Them.
Really? Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite song on the album.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah, it's just I just absolutely love the dynamics they play around with it. Again, I talked about it before, but again, it starts out very slow. It's just this very kind of calming, but there's still a bit of tension in there. But you're just kind of swept. You're just kind of hypnotized almost in the beginning, especially it's that bass. You hear the bass line that. But then once it starts to build, you're like, where's this going? And then the chorus hits in, and it's like all this is just all in your face, and the band's harmonizing on this one as well. It's just again sends goosebumps, and of course the saxophone playing is just
Yes.
absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
And I already talked about the lyrics before, but yeah, it's just a really great piece in here. It was always the highlight on the song. I think it's my mom's favorite song as well on the album, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's number 2.
The vocals are so good. That
Mm-hmm.
us,
Yeah.
and them. Oh, so
Yeah.
good. All right, me. I forget that's me next. I think that's next every time. Number 2 for me, I'm going with "Band on the Run," the title song, one of my favorite Paul McCartney songs of all time, or favorite when they're with Wings for sure. Yeah, like I said, it's like 3 songs, it's 3 parts in one. I love the beginning is so nice. The stuck inside these 4 walls, being in. It's like, oh, this is a nice sound. All of a sudden they pick it up a little bit with the second side, and then you get the third part, and that's like the main part where you really get into where they start singing "Band on the Run," and love that. Love the acoustic guitar on there. It's such a nice upbeat song. Such a fun song. Paul McCartney sings so great on there. Some good harmonies in there. Great chorus, of course. But yeah, just love getting through those first part, the second part, and then you get to that third part. And it's just, I love songs that do that. And I talk about this like "Sweet Judy Blue Eyes." You can put that on the list, and many other ones. But I love that when they do stuff like that, where it's like, we're not going to give you just one song straightforward. We're going to give you different melodies, different tempos, whatever. We're going to change stuff around. It's just brilliant, in my opinion. And it was so fun watching them do it live again. When I saw them live doing this, it was so great.
Yep. My top 2 are both on the same album. It's "Canada Win" from Goodbye Edinburgh Road. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful song. I think it's one of Elton's best ballads.
Mm-hmm.
I love the lyrics for this one, and yeah, I think it fits really well on the album as well, being the second track on it.
Yeah, great one. Hey, then my number 1. Let's go back to The Who, and you're gonna go with the last song, which is "Love Reign Over Me." I mean,
that being the top 10 songs of 1973.
Yeah. I talked about it before, but again, this has arguably one of Roger's great vocal performances on here. Like, he's just like almost not screaming, but he really is really at the peak of his range on that one, and you can just feel the emotion coming out of it. And also, I love the intro to it. Again, it's a slow build up with the piano. You hear the rain. It's just like a great lead into the main melody. And of course, Keith Moon's drumming. I didn't mention Keith Moon's drumming, but the ending where Keith's just going at it like he usually does. It's just the perfect way to close out the album. Again, it's the lyrics are kind of left ambiguous because of course it's a concept album, and of course it's ambiguous on what Jimmy goes next. Does he find his place, or does he kind of stay stuck? It's kind of left to the listener's interpretation, but it's still just a really emotional driven song that which I love. So that's my favorite song of 1973.
All right. For me, number 1, I am going with "Piano Man" from Billy Joel.
Nice.
My favorite Billy Joel song, and one of my favorite songs of all time. Probably top 10 favorite song of all time. I remember the first time I listened to this song, it just blew me away. Lyrically, I love the way he describes. It's like he's playing the piano at a bar and he's describing the scene. That's the song, and it's just amazing how he's describing the scene or whatever. The waitress who practices politics, businessman gets stoned. We're all drinking a drink called loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. I mean, just amazing lyrics, and I love. He's playing, and sounds like a carnival. The mic smells
microphones.
Everybody says, "What are you doing here?" And they sit at my bar and they put bread in my jar and say, "What? Yeah, that's what are you doing here?" I mean, just the way he uses lyrics to describe everything. I absolutely love listening to the song, and of course, love the piano. Love the what is that instrument in there? There's
Harmonica,
yeah,
Accordion.
and
accordion.
a little bit of accordion towards the end.
Yeah,
A
love,
bit towards
love
the
all
end.
that in there. And then, I mean, one of the great choruses, of course. Sing me a song, you're the piano man. Sing me a song for like, whatever. We're all here, and you make us feel all right, or whatever. Anyways, just so great. Love the song.
Yeah, glad you mentioned that one. That was definitely in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll probably make just about the top 10 as well. But my honorable mentions, I've gone with Money by Pink Floyd, and Tuesday's Gone by Leonard Skinner, which is probably my favourite song by them.
That's
Yeah,
really
a good one.
I think it's a very underrated song. But my favourite is Goodbye Yellow Road.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I consider that one.
Yeah.
It was that or Daniel. I couldn't decide.
It was really my favourite album, 1973. That ended up being Pink Floyd. But yeah, love the song Goodbye Yellow Road. I love the chorus especially, and the vocals on the chorus. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant song. It's my favorite Elton. Well, it's one of my favorite Elton John songs.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is still Your Song.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. That's my
Yeah.
favorite.
Though. Yeah.
Oh, this album has like 4 top 10s, or at least 3 top 10 songs. I mean, Count on the Wind.
Benny the Jets.
Benny and Jets are probably all my top 10, plus Daniel from. I mean, it's crazy how many great songs came out this year for Elton.
Mm-hmm.
And songs in general, really. Do you guys have any other mentions?
Yeah, I have like I'll say like 10 more. Genie by David Bowie. Sad Song by Lou Reed. No More.
No,
Sorry, what?
it is quite a sad song, yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
cool.
definitely.
Is it
Yes, it is. Yeah, if you don't want to be depressed, don't listen to Lou Reed's Berlin. It's a pretty depressing album.
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
sad song from it.
Yeah. I also have No More Mr. Nice Guy by Alice Cooper. I also had Elton John Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I also have kind of a deeper cut. It's from Fleetwood Mac. It's called Why. It was written by Christine McVie.
Okay.
Very underrated song. It's the last song off Mystery to Me. It's a really great song. I also have Piano Man by Billy Joel. Free Bird, Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate leaving that out. But
Yeah.
so good.
I have Photograph by Ringo Starr.
Yeah, great song.
Yeah.
Yep. And then 2 more. Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder. And last song I'll mention is Dream On by Aerosmith.
Oh, I didn't even think about that song.
Yeah, 73.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good song. Well, that'd be an honorable mention. I didn't even put that down. Dream On. One of the best. I put Tequila Sunrise on here, my favorite off of the Desperado album. Put Give Me Love, Give Me Peace,
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Living in Material World. Mind Games, I think it's a really good John Lennon song.
Yeah.
That album. My Love off of the Red Rose Speedway album, another Paul McCartney album that came out that year. Is really good. Free Bird, that was like the last song I didn't quite get into my top 5. I wanted to get that in. Iconic song, one of the greats, of course. American Tune, so great. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, definitely wanted to get that in there as well. Us and Them, yeah, was definitely one I wanted to get in, but too many good songs.
Yeah, I'll throw Free Bird and Us and Them and American Tune.
Mhm.
I'll also go with another song from Aladdin Sane. That's Lady Grinning Soul.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know that
Yeah.
one.
I think
That's
it's the
more of a
last track
deeper
on the
cut.
album.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a very deep cut, that one, but it's probably my favourite David Bowie deep cut.
Yeah, I don't know much about David Bowie. Except for I know Grave Digger. I know the Grave Digger song.
Oh wait. Yeah. Not a good introduction.
Hello, Mr. Grave Digger.
That's
Thanks.
But yeah, I'll say Mind Games as well. it would be up there, Mind Games.
Mhm.
I love the vocals on that one. Also, Jet by Paul McCartney and Wings would
Right.
be up there as well. And Piano Man and Love Rain Over Me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I probably wouldn't. I think I'll find it easier to come up with favorite songs and albums from 1973.
Oh, so many good ones. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can come up with the top 50 almost, probably. I don't know.
I can,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
But there we go. We've discussed a lot about 1973 today. Talked about our favorite albums and songs from the year. We might do the same for 1974.
All right.
Mm.
Look forward to that. But I appreciate everyone watching. Do you guys have your final words?
Happy 50.
Yeah, happy 50.
I'll be sad if we're doing this in 1983 and I'm 50 years old and I have to look back at 1983 and go, oh my gosh, I'm 50 already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do this for 1983. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Look.
50 years ago. Because right now I go 50 years ago. That's a long time. Once I get to 50 years old, I'll be like, that didn't seem that long ago.
Yeah.
That's a stop and down, Ricky.
But I got 10 years till then. But anyways.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think that's it from us. Thanks everyone for watching. Until next time, peace out and ciao.